You know.
But the whole time that we got trained by the Sheik, like we knew in our mind that we were working together to a point, but he never ever told us about that. And he never, the only thing he would say if we were like, "Ow," or something, like that, he'd be like, "What? Is he hurting you? Is he, are you what? Are you hurt? Are you a pussy?" And he said, "You know how many times I had to get there? I got shot in the leg." He had all these horror stories about fans stabbing him with a fork, and he got in the ring and wrestled. And
My snake bit me.
oh my god, yeah, dude. The show must go on. So anyway,
But
that's
what
the way
is
I got
that
trained.
training? I mean,
Well,
do you
then
just
then when I
train?
started wrestling, other wrestlers that hadn't got trained by him, everyone was afraid of us because me and the few people that were in our little group, we would just kill
You
everybody.
guys were like Dogtown, the locals only. You guys were the real like hardcore surfers.
Yeah,
I
we
dig
didn't know
it.
any better. And then I learned over the first couple of years to adjust a little bit to them. And then when I went to Japan, I'd adjusted too much because I was used to guys that were going, "Ow, ow." So when I went to Japan, yeah, I started wrestling in Japan and. For real,
God, we
man.
gotta start making a soundboard for fucking sound effects. Ow, ow.
You're hurting me. Loosen up.
The Japan guys were pretty tough.
They beat the shit out of me. At first, I thought it was personal. Like, man, that guy's an asshole. Because I'd like do these kicks that the other guys wanted me to do, just taking care of them, making it light. And they'd look at me like, dude, I'm not reacting to that. Bam, and like literally, like put their boot in my face and knock me on my ass. Big dudes like Kawada and Kabashi, and mostly Kawada. But these guys were like, they knew what they were doing, and I was a green kid. I'm 2 or 3 years in the business. I really learned to step my game up there because I had to balance off what they were doing to me and hang with them. And then when I went back to the States again, because I wrestled from 93 to 97, like Japan was like my full-time gig. And, back and forth, I did some shit in the States, independent shows and some WCW, and the ECW started around there. But mostly Japan was like where I was making my money.
You
I
must
could
look
count
like
on that.
fucking Sasquatch walking through Japan.
Well,
Are you the largest man? When you go to Japan, are you now the largest man in Japan?
Dude, don't forget about sumo wrestlers.
I'm not.
They're Japanese.
Are you the largest mobile man in Japan? Ambulatory? Are you in your hover around?
No, because I'm on a bus with wrestlers, and we had Abdullah the Butcher, yeah, Stan Hansen, and
I remember I see
Flood.
in your documentary here that your bio that Matthew put together.
Thanks,
that
Matthew.
You were ranked #1 in 2002 by Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and I got to tell you,
Yes.
I used to ride my bike from Verona, New Jersey, 6 miles down to a little smoke shop in Caldwell, New Jersey, because they sold that was my magazine, man. Like I rode like across town. Like there's really, when you live in LA, you can't really explain it to anybody. Like going from Battle Creek, Michigan over to like whatever 2 towns over was.
I used to ride my bike all fucking day. When I go back to Battle Creek now, I can't believe how far I used to ride as a kid from the house I grew up in.
And on
to the
highways and
mall
stuff.
yeah, totally.
No helmet, nothing. A guy on the back, a kid on your handlebars.
Yeah.
No
and,
seat.
and my parents didn't give a shit about me. I'm like 12, 13 years old, leaving at 10 in the morning, coming back after dark.
Yeah.
It must have been different times.
Yeah, I think
For
our
sure.
parents were happy just to get us out of the house.
I guess.
But I used
we
to
didn't
go
have
get
cell phones to call and say we're okay.
No, nothing. Pro
It's
Wrestling
pitch black. I'm in
Illustrated.
the middle of the street.
I used to go get Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and I remember like it was this. I knew the guys. I watched WWF on like WOR. I think it was Channel 9 in New Jersey. That was like the KCAL 9 here. It was like WOR in New Jersey.
Right on.
Excuse me, or WPIX in New Jersey and New York. And then I remember like, so I just knew WWF. And then you'd open Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and it was like Mid-Atlantic and AWA. And I'm like, whoa, who are the Funk Brothers?
Same thing.
Who the fuck's this guy?
Yep.
And you see a photo of like Abdul, like wrestler #2. I was like, whoa, he's got a mask. That's his name? Wrestler #2? Like he came out of a factory? And it was like, in a way, not even in a way, it was maybe the most instrumental magazine of my entire childhood, because it was more than any English class ever could have taught me, like symbolism and imagination. Like fucking Barry Windham is from Longwood, Texas, or whatever.
And they'd give the results from like being on the road.
And it would be like 6 months old, but it was like back. It was like Pony Express news. It was like getting a like Battle of Appomattox. Like it's no, you don't understand. It's over. Sorry, I live in Nevada. It took a while for the fucking horse to get me the news.
When I would visit my grandma in Detroit, she got a different wrestling program than we got, because just like that, we only were exposed to WWF.
I remember that.
And then my grandma, she got what I think was AWA, and I saw like different wrestlers.
Tony Atlas. When I met my Same
Iceman
thing.
Parsons.
I went to go see my grandparents, and all of a sudden, like, there's a fucking black guy holding a guy over his head. And I'm like, who's that? My grandmother's in Texas. She goes, oh, that's Tony Atlas. He's the world's strongest man. That's Tony Atlas. I was like, whoa. And Pro Wrestling Illustrated had all the rankings and all, like, where they were from, like, height and weight. Jimmy Snuka, 250, you know.
Want to hear me explain something, like, really deep, if I can hold this thought all the way through? Yeah. What's different about how wrestling impacts kids or fans in general now is that back then when we were kids and you saw Tony Atlas picking somebody up over his head, man, that's what it was about, was like creating that massive, bigger than life star. And it took an unbalance. It took a big superstar and it took an enhancement guy. And that's how wrestling was when we grew up. I remember seeing Big John Studd wrestle two guys at once. You never saw a superstar and a superstar just, opening up a card, but it was always what we call jobbers. They were very happy to be in the ring and be working with the big stars, even though they were getting squashed. We called them squash matches too. That's how it used to be. When and then if you'd watch, you see Big John Studd just smashing all these guys.
You're like, gee, I wonder who's going to win, Big John Studd or Mike Peel.
Yeah, but it was still exactly. But you could showcase all of his impressive moves and build a little angle coming up. And guess what? On Saturday night's main event, you get to see Big John Studd and Hulk Hogan. Now you got to fucking see it. You're going to sell tickets. After the Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWE, it changed to where every single match from the bottom to the top of the card is superstar versus superstar. Superstar versus superstar. We don't even have the jobbers anymore, the enhancement guys. So you always got to find a creative way to get one guy over the other.
The girls are the jobbers.
Well, we don't pin the girls. No, you know what I mean?
When they come in and they got to stick their fucking, like, let me tell you something. It's like, you know what? That's not why I'm watching, honey. With all due respect to all the talented women.
If the big baby face used to get screwed over by the heel, maybe you could draw money with it, and it would be a big deal. Like now,
lovely Miss Elizabeth.
If you're watching 5 or 6 matches, you're seeing that happen 5 or 6 times because every single match you're watching the same story, with a superstar versus superstar, some bullshit way of getting the finish over, and you got to go through the emotions of seeing the babyface cry and beg the crowd for help and then make a big comeback. I miss the enhancement matches. That's what building a superstar is about. There are no more Monday Night Wars. I wish we'd go back to it. We wouldn't be as impacted right now as kids if we turn it on and watch the wrestling as we were back then, when we'd be like, whoa, this guy's bigger than life. Nobody can beat him. But if you watch it and every week you're seeing him get beat or beat somebody or just barely slide over and they all look equal and use something to slip over, some cheat or something, it's so basically that's what I'm saying is that's what's.
It's a great point. It also lends itself to the. Back in the day, like now, you just show up a star, like The Miz and like CM Punk and these guys. Like, I mean, there's the commissioner is like a computer chip. It's a fucking star. If they write it to be a star, you're a star. Like, who's the Irish guy that's champion?
I don't know.
On WWE?
Sheamus.
Yeah. Like, you just show up. Like, your first match, you come into your music, and it's like, whoa, here he is. Right. And you're a star. Like, they make stars where it just seems like in the old, not to go like...
Do you think it works? Or do you think sometimes the fans feel like it's shoved down their throat and it doesn't
work?
I
don't think the fans feel it's shoved down their throat. I think it's exactly what they want because we're in a Kardashian culture where we want shit shoved down our throats. But what I was going to say, and I think you'll probably agree to it, we want Ray J shoved down our throats.
Yeah. Speak for yourself.
Back in the day, it's almost like no one ever showed up. Those guys always lived. By the time you and I tapped into pro wrestling... and you saw like Iceman and those guys.
Yeah.
Like there was never like, oh, here's the Boogie Woogie Man. He's this new up and comer. Right. It seemed like everyone involved was involved way before I ever got involved.
Yeah,
like it was a carnival that had set sail long before. Right. And even if they were brand new, it's almost like they hit it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it used to be, I heard Steve Kern one time tell the guys in WWE, he was an agent, and he used to wrestle. When I was there during a meeting one time, he told all the boys that, making the point that you made too, because we used to have these meetings when I was there. None of the meetings ever had anything to do with me because I knew everything we were talking about. I wanted to be out in my car medicating, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they'd be like, they were always, and they're showing a TV footage, and they're saying the reason that we're not selling tickets right now and the reason we're hurting is because the baby faces need to turn their faces more towards the crowd and sell towards the ropes. I'm just like, sorry, I learned that a long time ago. Well, now it's my job to teach these guys. And a lot of times while I'm rolling them up on top of me, I mean, there's always some bitterness there when you feel like, dude, you're doing the wrong thing here.
It is. You expressed to me when we were talking a long time ago. I think we were at the Ontario Improv hanging out, and you said to me about one of the things about the WWF. It was at the time. I'm pretty sure it was still WWF, or maybe not. Doesn't matter. It got away from the performance and it became so story driven. And you really, and I never heard this from a pro wrestler before. You were like, I'm an athlete, bro. Like, I want to get in there and fucking flip around and do like actual moves and dive off ropes and fucking bang my head and stuff and get cut. And it's just all story. Like WWF just got very, I'm not saying that if you're listening, you shouldn't watch WWE, but you should watch TNA Thursdays at 8 on Spike to see our friend RVD with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
But it like, I never heard that before from a
Yeah,
wrestler.
because basically,
like, I want to actually go into a ring and wrestle. And even if it's a fabricated, we already know who's going to win. I want to get in there and I want to thump.
I'm a show off.
Yeah.
And people are in the crowd wearing RVD shirts, holding signs that said, I paid to see RVD. I can't help but feel connected and responsible for those people to do my part to try to give them their money's worth. Now, when I was in WWE, it could be like beyond my control to a point where I could be written in to be going out and then just having 30 seconds of action before a bunch of guys hit the ring and slam me down and take me out. But I got paid a lot, so I was all right with it. It became just business. But as an artist, I want to make sure everyone gets their money's worth, you know, that paid to see me. And back to the point I was making, I'm showing off. I love that. You know, at Bound for Glory the other day, I pulled out a move I hadn't done in probably like 10 years. I threw that Zima kid into the ropes towards the end. I took him, as he came back to me, I threw him up in the air high as I could. I jumped up and drop kicked him out of the air. Nobody does that shit.
Fantastic.
That's why I'm the whole effing show.
Let me say that again.
That's why I'm the whole effing show.
Does that Zima kid know that you're going to drop kick him in midair? Or is it
well,
a surprise?
I'm sure he's never had it happen to him before. But
you don't whisper in his ear like, I'm going to throw you into the ropes, I'm throwing you in the air. But when you're up there, just cover your Adam's apple because I'm about to drop kick you.
I almost never will get in the ring first and like go over anything like some of the other guys do. But with Zima, I grabbed him earlier and threw him up because I wanted to make sure, you know, because I hadn't done that in years. So I threw him up, wanted to make sure, you know, that I was going to be able to kick. I did a 450 splash recently where off the top rope, I used to do a 5-star frog splash, beat everybody with that for years. 450 is like doing a flip and a half into a pool.
Yeah.
And like a couple months ago, again, I hadn't done that in like 10, 12 years. I was just like, that's how I know that I'm still on top of my game. I have a stretch routine that's like ridiculous. I'm the only wrestler in the industry. Anyone will back me up on that too, that I stretch for an hour before my matches. And that's what makes me feel like I'm at my best. And then I can take any kind of punishment once I get in the ring. And because I know my limits when I stretch, I know that I haven't lost a beat in 15 years. I'm 41 now, and when I was 26, I felt the same way. My body felt the same way. I can still do all the same moves, the same jump is high. You know, every once in a while I'll be, hey, I haven't done this backflip, you know, for a while. And I just, boom, I do it live just so I can say, yeah, you know, just for the physical action of doing it, because I do it in my mind a lot, and that helps keep me at my top of my game too.
I think there's a progression to the wrestling fan's mindset. And I think is when you first tap into it, it's real. And then it becomes not real unless they're hitting. This is what it was with me and my friends growing up. It's real. Like, it's real. It's just real. And then you just see a guy miss a drop kick by 4 feet and the guy sells it too hard. And you go, oh, it's not real. But this is what we used to say. But when they start hitting each other with chairs, that's real. And then WWF just, I think, super saturated. Like, you could see the chairs were shitty in the garbage cans. Like, well, why would I? Like, I remember once Abdullah the Butcher was stabbing a guy in the face with a plastic fork. And I was like, if I weighed 400 fucking pounds and I was a savage fucking beast from wherever the fuck he was from, parts unknown,
right?
Wouldn't I use my elbow to smash your orbital socket instead of taking out fucking cutlery from the high school cafeteria?
I would hope so. I always hate the cookie sheet too, because the cookie sheet.
I forgot about the cookie. And it makes a good sound,
but it actually hurts more than it looks like, because people are like,
really?
I mean, because it feels like you're being smacked, you know, with a
cookie sheet.
Yeah, but when people know they can take that, you know, I have always liked that people know they can't take the moves that I do in the ring, even though if you look at it on an entertainment level, I even want the wrestlers to know they couldn't survive the moves that I do. And that's what makes me feel competitive and feel like I'm staying ahead.
Did
And
you
I've done that my
wrestle in
whole
high
career.
school or college?
I joined because I already knew I wanted to be a pro, and I thought that'd be
Really?
the path to go. But I didn't stay long because they were all about losing weight and dropping down to wrestle lower weight class. And I'm like, dude, I was like 160 pounds, and they were saying, hey, you can probably get down to 135. I'm like, no, I want to weigh 235. Fuck
Right.
this. So I didn't. I left. And I started martial arts on my own, kickboxing, because this dude had a ring. And me and my buddies, we were wrestling in a living room. We throw the couch cushions on the floor when his mom was at bingo,
Oh my
slam each other every
God.
night, tear the house up,
Yeah.
Once in a while, bring the mattress up when he'd let us from the basement. But the whole time that we got trained by the Sheik, like we knew in our mind that we were working together to a point, but he never ever told us about that. And he never, the only thing he would say if we were like, "Ow," or something, like that, he'd be like, "What? Is he hurting you? Is he, are you hurt? Are you a pussy?" And he said, "You know how many times I had to get in the ring? I got shot in the leg." He had all these horror stories about fans staying in Kabashi and mostly Kawada, but these guys were like they knew what they were doing, and I was a green kid. I'm 2 or 3 years in the business. I really learned to step my game up there because I had to balance off what they were doing to me and hang with them. And then when I went back to the States again, because I wrestled from 93 to 97, like Japan was like my full-time gig. And, back and forth, I did some shit in the States, independent shows. And
Soundboard for fucking sound effects. Ow, ow.
You're hurting me. Loosen up.
The Japan guys were pretty tough.
They beat the shit out of me. At first, I thought it was personal. Like, man, that guy's an asshole. Because I'd like do these kicks that the other guys wanted me to do, just taking care of them, making it light. And they'd look at me like, dude, I'm not reacting to that. Bam, and like literally, like put their boot in my face and knocked me on my ass. Big dudes like Kawada stabbing him with a fork, and he got in the ring and wrestled. And
my snake bit me.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. The show must go on. So anyway, that's
but what
the way
is
I got
that
trained.
training? I mean,
well,
did
then
you
then
just
when I
train?
started wrestling, other wrestlers that hadn't got trained by him, everyone was afraid of us because me and the few people that were in our little group, we would just kill everybody.
You guys were like Dogtown, the locals only. You guys were the real like hardcore surfers.
Yeah, we didn't know any better. And then I learned over the first couple of years to adjust a little bit to them. And then when I went to Japan, I'd adjusted too much because I was used to guys that were going, ow, ow. So when I went to Japan, yeah, I started wrestling in Japan. And for real,
God, we
man.
got to start making a